time, our food production has tripled. And at the same time, the number of not food insecure people has tripled. These are all big trends that we've seen over the past 50 years. But the interesting thing is that over this time period, the number of food insecure people has been constant. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us a number of things. It tells us that food production does not seem to be very correlated with food security. Maybe locally, maybe in certain circumstances, but that in the big picture, not really. It also tells us that GDP per capita is not related to food security. Of course it is locally, and of course it is for poor people, but generally speaking, we've become a much richer world and we haven't reduced the number of food insecure people. That's quite remarkable. And of course it tells us that we spend a much, much lower proportion of our income on food these days than we did 50 years ago. I think it's important to have this time spectrum at the back of our head when we discuss today's problems as we see them. So some observations here is that food security is only partly related to food production. And climate change mitigation in the land-based sectors, agriculture, forestry, and I would like to include fisheries, is only partly related to storing more carbon or keeping more carbon. I think there were several presentations that brought that up already. So this means that the title of this presentation is only considering parts of food security and climate change mitigation objectives. I don't know how big part, maybe not so big at all, because food security is much more related to poverty, to social protection systems, to the functions of markets and distributions, and awareness and knowledge sharing. A very big part of food insecurity today is obesity and poor nutrition, and we need to bear that in mind as well. So feeding the world is about much more than growing food, is the point I'm making. And of course, other significant parts of climate change mitigation on land is resource use efficiency. We heard a lot about that already. And something that I'm not sure was mentioned, the waste and losses, which of course provides an enormous